Have you ever wanted to have your own Goblin army? Are GW's Gretchen just kinda eh? Let's have a look at my 3D printed revolution, but first, I need a coffee. Oh my gosh. It's not bad. Oh. So I wanted to fill you in on what I've been doing before I show you MrModulork's awesome goblins. For those of you who didn't know, I'm actually studying Mandarin. That period of time was when our final exams were, so I was spending a lot of time studying. I also bought an FDM printer and I've been having a ton of fun just printing stuff. I love the fact that, there's not as much mess. It's just been working like a treat. So there's been a lot of terrain projects that I've been working on and I just haven't prioritized making videos to show what I've been doing. Now this isn't sponsored by MrModulork, but they were kind enough to give me access to these files so that I could play around and print the goblins that I wanted to print. These are all from their June Patreon edition, so if you've missed them, you can still get them, and they've got some discount codes if you subscribe to their Patreon. I already have a huge bunch of GW Gretchen, about 40 or so in various degrees of tabletop ready, but I just found that they were a little underwhelming. So I saw MrModulork's goblins and they kind of gave me the vibe of, if you've seen that guy, he's an Australian as well. He did his custom Astra Militarum army, but they were all kit bashed so that they were all goblins. That was the vibe that it had, and I was like, I could make an army like that, but not have to deal with the kit bashing because I can just print everything straight off. Now, one of the things to notice is the scale is a bit larger, and so if you put the goblins side by side next to a GW Orc Boy, they're about the same size, and so I wanted to scale them down a little bit, but you need to be careful when you scale stuff down that they don't become too brittle or pieces and joins become too small and they could be prone to breakages. So when scaling them down, I first scaled the supported STL file, which was a big mistake because I brought them down to 90%, but then that scaled the supports down to 90% as well, and so made them a bit more fragile, and I was getting a few fails. And so what I did was then I took the LYS file and scaled that down, because when you scale that down, it leaves the supports the same size. But the supports kind of move around a little bit, but they still have the same anchor point on the models. I don't know how to explain that clearer. All the Goblin kits are multi-part assemble kits, so you kind of get the feel of assembling a plastic kit for a fraction of the cost. One thing though I do like sometimes is having the model fully assembled and then just printing that, because for me, I find if something misprints, like one piece, I don't have to search my build plate and try work out what that piece was or go through all the files. There is that trade-off, but the upside is it is super customizable. From the 12 or so stock standard troops, if you mix and match the heads, the bodies, the torsos, and all the extra bits, you could have a squad of easily 40 or 50 unique goblins that all have kind of their own character, and then you can mix and match them from previous kits, and there's it's just, the sky's the limit with just the kit bashing. The problem is I'm too lazy to bother going to back and forth between the kits to do that, but there's heaps of customizability there. After I assembled everything, one of the things I should have done was use the baking soda trick, just because with the super glue sometimes they just wouldn't stay in place, but I attached magnets onto their base with milliput. So I basically just put some milliput on the base, twisted around, and then just leveled it with the table. And after a day after the milliput had cured, that was an easy way to hold the magnet tight, but also just make sure that it was pretty flush with the base so I get the strongest contact to my metal carrying case. For the painting, it was pretty simple. For the tanks, I did a gray zenithal and then still leaving that brown shading at the bottom, and then I sprayed red speed paint through the airbrush and then orange speed paint through the airbrush, kind of giving that gradient from a dark red brown to a bright orange. I then highlighted all their edges with orange and then picked out all the other details. For the troops, I did kind of a dirty, it's basically it's just slap job. So it's basically a dry brush of gray, a dry brush of an off-white, and then just speed paints everywhere, and that kind of gave me the vibe of what they were going to look like. I then, and the choice places, highlighted them up. Now, the piece et resistance. Every army needs a hero, a leader to lead them to victory, and so mine is Carl. I reach it. Oh my gosh, Carl, what a badass. Look at this guy. So my original Carl was just one of the Gretchens with a pistol, Carl with a K, and he had Carl on his base rim. But this one, the model's just so much more impressive. He's got a little standard behind him. He's got his cloak. He's covered in medals because he is a gangster, and he's just holding his helmet. He's got a scar on his face just to show like the battle, the carnage, just everything that he's seen. Like I really love this model. It's like, I'll show a bit later, but I've got some weapon teams that I'm going to be working on and some extra troops. And I think that's it. Like, I haven't printed much more. I think I do want to get some artillery. I don't want to make them a guard army, but like I could. That is where I'm at so far. I've just been kind of testing them out with some one-page rules, Grimdark Future Firefight, so their skirmish game. But let me know what you think of these goblins. If you want to get any of them, you can find the links below. Let me know what else you'd love to see, and we'll catch you in another video. Thanks for watching and happy hobbying.